Okay, now we're going to transcribe measures 3 and 4 from this phrase that I found on the music theory website, illustrating how first inversion can be used to go from a 1 chord to a 4 chord. So I've got in the phrase editor, we still have our the first two measures, the phrase we created called C. Well, this is CNR phrase 1 actually. Anyway, that's 1. Okay, so let's go about that. So the first thing we've got to do is change, because these two phrases are built on the F triad, the 4 triad of C major. We've got to change this to 4, right? Now, as soon as we do that, Rapid Composer changes the bass for us. Right here we've got F, and all we have to do is select these two notes and just move that down. Because this is not inversion. Remember in the first phrase, we went from the root up to the third, or in the chord note relative scheme, number 1 up to number 2. But in these two measures, with the F chord, we're not using the first inversion. Okay, so we just have straight F. We just have a straight F down here in both measures. Okay, all right. Okay, so we've taken care of the bass clef. Now let's look at the treble clef. So in the first measure 3, or the first one here, in fact both of them, they're all C's. Okay, which is the 5th of the F major chord, or in note mapping, FAC, C would be number 3. Okay, and they're all on C4, middle C, so all we've got to do is just select these, and I think we can use our down arrow. Yep, and that's that. So we've got that taken care of. Okay, all right, so there's our C's. Then in this measure here, the third measure of these two phrases, or the first measure of this F major triad phrase that we're creating has A, FAC. So that's the second. And we've actually got those in there already. So all we have to do is just delete these in the first measure. And we're good to go on the first measure, right? So let's check it. We've got F, F, C, A. And they're correctly now what's going on? I just spotted an error here. Why is this C mapped to -1? What's going on here? Let's see. FAC, this should be mapped to 3. I'm really glad I made that mistake. This mistake, because this points out how you got to be careful when you're chord note relative mapping these things. Okay, you know, this is a little bit of a different skill than you know, being a musician, being an instrumentalist, or being a composer or something like that, because what we're doing is we're combining like music theory and playing an instrument, or you know, composing, but we're also, you know, using the computer here. Okay, so we've got computer skills that are very important to this whole process, and that would not be the case. That traditionally is not the case. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, but when you're using Rapid Composer, that's a big element of it. All right, so anyway, let's take a look at this, see why it's mapped number 1 negative. Well, FAC, we want it mapped to the 3. We just want it mapped to the 3. And it jumped it up there. Oh, okay. We don't have any offset. That yeah. That's it. That's it. Okay. So what happened was the C, okay, FAC, Rapid Composer starts the F. It starts all the chords on in the C, C4 or above. So if we start an F chord, FAC, the C is going to be, the 3 is going to go, it's going to go to C5. It's going to go to the octave above C4, okay? All right, that's the key. Okay, so what we have to do actually is we want it at C4, so we just have to do an octave offset to replicate the phrase we're trying to copy. Okay, so select this, and we want it number 3, and an octave offset of -1. Okay, now we've got the correct mapping. So I think what we can do, the easiest thing is just to select these, then control, drag. I think that just copies them. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Now we're good. So let's look at our phrase again. So we've got the C, and it's correctly mapped to number 3, but there's an offset because we have it here on C4 instead of up here on C5. Now notice the A is just number 2 because you have FAC, so we don't have to do any offset with the A. But as soon as the note goes past, let's say goes past B4, you're going to need an octave offset. Okay? So again, I'm really really happy you know, we made that mistake together because it shows you how you've got to, you know, this chord note mapping is tedious. Okay, there's no getting around it. It's tedious, but I think you're going to see the payoff, and that's the whole point of these videos. There is a payoff, and we're getting there. We're not too far away. All right, so let's. All right, we've got the first measure taken care of. Now the second measure, we've got the first 3 eighth notes are A. So all we've got to do is take these, down arrow, that brings them to the A. So we're good there. And then the next 3 notes are G. Now G is not part of an F triad, an F major triad, FAC. G is not part of it. So what these are, we have to take a look at these G's and kind of understand what's going on here, what the composer has done. And it's really very simple. He's going from the chord tone A, which is the, you know, the third of the chord, and he's moving down to the chord tone F, okay, which is the root of the chord. But he's got some little, just these 3 passing tones to get there, okay, and that's what's going on. Okay, so what the easiest thing to do is first just let's select these notes and bring them down to the F, okay, which is 1. All right, we're good there. And all we've got to do is take these 3 tones and move them to G, which is a scale tone. Now, we're coming up right here to what might be the most important part of this whole process, and that is when you're mapping these non-chord tones, you have to decide how you want them mapped, okay? And right now, Rapid Composer is looking at them and giving them, seeing them relative to 1, which is F, plus 1 scale tone, okay, which is F, G, 1 scale note above F is G, okay? But we're going down. This is like making a move. If you had a C major triad, C, E, G, and you're moving from E, D, C, and you're moving from E to C, and you're playing the D as a passing note. So to my mind, these notes here are really more relative to the 2 or the A than they are relative to the 1. So I'm going to change these to 2. I'm going to remap them. The right word, the term I should have used is remap them. I'm going to change them to 2, and then I'm going to change the scale step offset instead of +1 to -1. Okay, now I've remapped these passing tones on G relative to this A here, and I think that's the right way to do it. Now, it may not matter. I'm not really sure. Sometimes it's hard to figure out, whether it's going to matter or not when you start taking these phrases and moving them to other chords. But it just seems logical to me that when you're descending from one chord tone to the chord tone below it, that you would map it like this. If anyone has any thoughts on this, or if it in fact doesn't matter, put it in the comments section, and then then great, then we won't worry about it, okay, if it's irrelevant. And it may be relevant, I'm not sure, so I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so I do believe we've created our phrase here, and we can play it. Oops, let me click on Rapid. So that's it. I mean, we're playing an F triad, a simple F triad. We're doubling the bass. We're playing it over 2 measures with like this repetitive 8th note rhythm. And the only real kind of little flourish here is this passing, these 3 passing tones, these 3 Gs, when we're moving from the A down to the F, which, is a real nice touch. So that's basically the composition, okay? That's the musical idea. And this musical idea is something we should be able to basically do with any chord, right? Okay. And that's where Rapid Composer shines, because once we create this phrase, you're going to see that's exactly what we can do. We can use it with any chord. Okay. So last thing we've got to do is just save this phrase, and I'm going to call it CNR, standing for chord note relative phrase 2, and I'm going to hit save. And actually I already saved it, but I'll overwrite it. And okay, so I'll see you in the next video, and what we're going to do is we're going to plug these phrases into our composition window and see how this all shakes out. Okay? All right, see you then.